Polly Paulusma has previously been referred to as Britain's answer to Joni Mitchell. This is part 2 of an interview brought to you by Make a Difference with Records. We're based in Godalming and we raise funds from record sales to support the mental health charity Catalyst. Polly, we're going to be talking to you about your early purchases and your musical loves, maybe some that have influenced you in some way potentially. And we're going to start with a couple of easy questions just to warm you up. And the first one is, what was the first album that you ever bought?
It was Thriller by
Michael Jackson. Okay.
And I actually bought it 3 times, which I think explains
You bought
why
it 3 times. Why did you buy it?
2 cassettes.
Okay.
They kept spewing because I loved them so much. And then I did have it on vinyl, but I spilt glue all over it.
You spilt glue all over it. Okay, I probably won't ask.
I was like 4 or something.
Okay,
5. I mean,
okay.
I was like, I was young, but I loved it. I loved that album so much.
So I take it the fact you spilt glue on it, you don't have that album anymore.
I don't have any of those copies anymore. I wore them all out.
Okay.
But, he was what? How many million copies did he sell? Like, if everybody bought 3 because they were, like, losing...
That's probably the reason.
Yeah, it was cassettes.
It's entirely down to you that it was such a big selling album with all 3.
People like me, yeah.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
And what about first single?
So I really struggled to remember this. I've still got all of them, but I was looking through them to try and figure out which one was the first. So I used to go to Woolworths with my pocket money.
Oh, didn't we all?
And there
yeah.
was that. I used to lay them out on my bed. I think it was the Shangri-Las, Leader of the Pack.
Oh, God, I remember
and I
that,
don't know why they re-released it then.
Right.
I think it was in an advert or a movie or something that sort of had a little renaissance.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the original. I didn't like inherit that from my mum and dad or anything.
Okay.
It was like a new issue of it. But I just loved that song. I used to play it over and over again. That and the Steve Miller Band, The Joker. That was another one that was like an advert-inspired purchase. But my singles were like, I had some terrible things in there. I was massively obsessed with Jason Donovan, Kylie Minogue. I mean, really awful.
Well, you say awful. I mean,
They did what they said on the tin.
When ABBA were very popular in the 70s, a lot of people thought they were awful and cheesy. And
I'm not a massive fan of ABBA either, but other things. There was one that I'm very proud of. Wax, Building a Bridge to Your Heart. What a song. I'm still glad that I've got that. But yeah, lots of lovely singles. But I think the Shangri-Las was my first one.
But it's funny you're talking about going to Woolworths, because of course Woolworths only ever had the kind of top 20 or top 50, didn't they?
Yeah.
Strategically positioned next to the pick and mix. I don't know whether
Conveniently positioned.
Convenient.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And that Stock Aitken and Waterman thing was like, I don't know, it was I guess it taught you a kind of pop sensibility. I always loved Kylie. I thought she was just, and she still is. What a woman!
It's an amazing performer.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
But the stuff that went in my brain at that time was really, it was like the Stone Roses, and that was starting to go in, and In Spiral Carpets, and those tunes. I was playing them recently. We had a little bit of a 90s kind of binge with my kids the other day, and it was just like, wow, this stuff was amazing. I can hear it.
Yeah.
It was good food to eat at that time, like musical food for the musical brain.
So you've kept the singles, which is great.
Yeah.
Have you kept most of the albums that you bought from that period as well?
I probably have about half of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Madonna, Like a Virgin, Madonna, Like a Prayer. Lots of pop.
So you did a bit of a clear out when CDs came in, did you?
I think they got damaged actually. I think it was just over the years I had to toss them because they got scratched or.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've still got quite a few albums from Christopher Cross. That was a favourite album.
Yes. Yeah. Sailing and all that stuff. Yeah. Remember that?
Some lovely things. Yeah. And then we inherited a load of vinyl from our parents, so we've got a really nice collection that's a real mix.
So, impossible question, the next one, and it is an impossible question, but if, God forbid, your house was suddenly on fire and you were running out and you've got one hand on the door handle and you've got one hand spare as you go past your album collection, which is the one album you'd save?
As in, it's my favourite musically, or
yeah,
it's the most kind of rare?
No, not value. What would mean the most to you? Which is the one you couldn't do without?
Carrie and Lau, Sufjan Stevens.
Okay.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
And because?
Because I love it so much. I listen to it at least once a week.
One of the great things about the vinyl resurgence is that we're now seeing, or some people for the first time are seeing, the artwork in its full glory. And obviously with Wildfires that we were talking about in part 1, that beautiful black and white photography we've had a bit of a teaser about from the social media side. We'll be able to see it as it was intended. If you had to pick one album cover that means a lot to you from an art point of view, what would that be?
I think my favourite one is Rumours. It's the Fleetwood Mac cover.
Okay.
I just think it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And it sums up everything that's going on in that record, and there's so much pain in it, you know. There's so much pain in the beauty of the pose. It's magnificent. I love it. I look at it for hours.
Was that an easy choice for you then on that?
Yeah, it was actually. I was torn between that and Trouble, Ray LaMontagne.
Oh, yeah.
But for similar reasons, actually, there's a lot of white in it. And it's funny because none of my albums look like that. I've never aspired for that, but I've always loved the idea of the music with those images. They seem to work really well as a pair.
It does. The Ray LaMontagne one you mentioned, I mean, in particular the title track and that artwork, I think really kind of go well together.
Yeah.
Fantastic song. Have you thought about your other favourite album that you were going to mention then?
Well, I wanted to mention this record. It's become a new favourite. It's not one that I've known about for very long, but since working with Ethan, he gave me a copy when I was working with him, and it's one of his records. And it's another one that I play pretty much every week. It's called The Reckoning.
Right.
And it also has an amazing cover, but it's beautiful. It's another narrative album.
Okay.
And it's mesmeric, absolutely mesmeric. So I love that one. And I love it that it's quite a new arrival in my collection as well.
Well, I will look that up because I don't know it at all.
It's beautiful.
Interesting. So at this point, you're allowed to travel in time if you wish. We've got a couple of questions. I know over your career you've collaborated with a number of people, including Catherine Williams, for example. If you could choose anyone at any point in time that you would either love to collaborate with, or you haven't, or that you have collaborated with and you think, well, that was it, who would you choose to do that with?
Well, it's funny, if I hadn't collaborated with Catherine, she would be top of the list because I was such a massive fan of hers, and it was like a dream to be able to write with her. I never thought I'd be able to.
Yeah.
I never thought that situation would arise, but she's actually become one of my greatest friends in the last 5 years or so.
By the way, whose idea was the drum machine on Big Sky? That was you, was it?
Yeah.
So I was kind of listening to it and thought, hang on, that's a drum machine. I've not heard you use a drum machine. But
yeah. No, actually, it's not even a drum machine. It's a loop.
It's a program loop.
It was something that I downloaded from somewhere just to do something, and then and it ended up sitting wrong in the track, and it was amazing. I was like, oh, you know when you make a mistake, but it's leave it, don't touch it. Yeah. It was great. So no, that was fun. Catherine would be top of the list, but we've done it, and I've got two songs on her. I've written with her 2 songs that are going to be on her next record.
Okay.
Which is very exciting for me, and it was a lovely process as well. So her aside, I would love to write with Paul McCartney. Okay. If all the bets are off, and
well, you've rewritten one of his songs you rewrote the lyrics to one of his songs, didn't you?
That was the first song that I ever wrote.
Which song was it you rewrote?
I can't remember, but I just know that it was meant to be about swans. He obviously got it wrong, and I was 10 and I was in the cupboard with my Casio keyboard and decided that, yes, he'd got it wrong. Right. But I can't remember which song it was. Something. Is
there a demo of it somewhere?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. And if there were, I'd bury it. I'd love that, just the melodic tennis, to be able to play melodic tennis with him would be...
Okay.
That'd be extraordinary. But, yeah. Nick Drake.
Okay.
When I was at Cambridge, I was at the college that was next to his college.
Really? Okay.
So I used to imagine, I mean, he was long gone by then, but I used to imagine his feet walking on the pavement outside my room. I would have loved to have been able to work with him. That would be amazing to write a song with him.
Do you have any of his vinyl?
Yes, we've got a copy of 5 Leaves left.
Don't get rid of it.
No.
Apart from being a beautiful album.
I don't know if that's wishful thinking of mine, but I think it's there. I can picture it.
Yeah.
I think it's there,
yeah.
It might have a scratch. That's probably why I'm bulking a bit. But yeah, we've got one. And
then what about you? You've talked about how live music is so important to you, but if you're talking about artists that you would ideally want to see live again that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity, if you're in your time capsule, who would it be?
Joni.
Yeah.
That
in the heyday.
71, yeah. I mean, it's lovely seeing her now, don't get me wrong. It's amazing what Brandy Carlisle and all that lot are doing to make sure that she gets the props that she deserves, you know, because...
Did you see her live or not?
No.
You didn't?
No. Would have loved to have seen the Beatles as well.
Yeah.
Somewhere small. Cavern Club or Hamburg or something, that would have been wonderful.
Well, see is the appropriate word, because I gather on most of the gigs you couldn't really hear them.
All the screaming.
All the screaming.
But if it was a small place early on, you wouldn't necessarily have that.
Maybe not if you were very early period.
And I would put George Harrison on my collaborator list as well.
Okay.
You know, dreaming while we're dreaming.
Well,
yeah, why not?
We're all here to dream, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't be much fun if we couldn't dream, would it?
No.
So the penultimate question is all about what we call the virtual final vault. Working with Catalyst as we do, with all the work they do in the mental health space, music can be a great healer or form of escape or a form of reflection. And what we've been trying to do with the artists we've been interviewing is build up effectively a virtual library of recordings that artists from their own personal experience think would be relevant in the context of promoting good mental health and, you know, being available to people and whatever their needs were at the given time. So we've asked you to nominate 3 albums for that final vault. What have you chosen and why?
So I chose Nick Drake, 5 Leaves Left, funnily enough.
Yeah.
Because I think there's something in the mellowness and the grace of his guitar playing. Mm-hmm. Really, actually, that's the. I'm thinking of Riverman as a track in particular.
Okay.
Which is asking the listener to slow down. Mm-hmm. and be aware of all the beauty, and I found it so helpful myself, so I know that it's a good one. Yeah. But that whole album, there's so much joy in it, and so much melancholy. Mm-hmm. I guess again that grinding gear in me that is joyful and miserable at the same time. Really appreciates the presence of that there, and obviously he had his battles as well, but managed to make something so breathtaking and beautiful through it all. So it's just such a hopeful piece of work. So that first one. Second one is Joni Mitchell's Blue.
Okay.
Just for its emotional rawness, really, and the honesty. Like, you can just feel her, perhaps a kind of bit of rage, and the way that she responds through melody. I find deeply healing. Actually, I just think it's an amazing response. It's sort of the indignation of it. It's just beautiful. It's a kind of bridling at life.
It's beautiful, but there's almost a pain in her voice.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like this. She's angry at being treated badly, or there's something. There's a pride in it, like a horse. Like it's like a. I don't know. I always get a lot of strength from listening to it. Like it's a recovery record in a way. Yeah. And the third one is Devon Sproul, the Gold String, which is absolutely beautiful. Do you know Devon Sproul?
No, I don't.
She's an American singer-songwriter. She's off now. She's writing now.
Yeah.
And the Gold String came out a couple of years ago. She went to the Hebrides, and it's a withdrawal album, deeply meditative, very spiritual, very healing, very life-affirming. Okay. So I think they would be 3 good ones to have in the vault.
Wonderful. No, those are really thoughtful choices, so thank you for that. And then the last question, again, coming back to you as a singer-songwriter, in the context of what we do at Make a Difference with Records, and part of that is connecting people with music, being part of the local community, and also making sure people are aware that support is there with Catalyst. In terms of your own work, which of your records do you think that Make a Difference with Records should have, and why?
I would really like to give you a copy of Wildflowers.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it demonstrates the arc of it, that you can go through absolute hell, but there's hope at the end and you can come through it. And there's also, it's a hymn to restraint, which sounds really weird, but I think sometimes with mental health.
Why do you say it sounds weird?
Because restraint isn't necessarily something that people are encouraged to think of as a good thing.
Right.
You can be, it sometimes gets framed as like not, you know, if you're not doing something,
Yeah.
that it's somehow inactive, passive.
Right.
You know, that you're meant to be being dynamic. You know, you should take action. That action is always the right thing to do. And I think there's something in Wildflowers. There's something about allowing yourself to act imaginatively so that you don't have to act in reality. Like allowing the extremes to go through acts of imagination, but that actually when you come back from the curve, to have not done is a good thing. Like sometimes it's the right thing to not, you know, to try to think of the right way to put this. To weather the storm, you know, to endure the feelings, to let the feelings happen, but you don't have to always be acting on them. You can just let them happen.
Well, it's a choice ultimately, isn't it? Isn't it? I mean, you can choose to do something and choose not to do something. They're both choices. They're both positive decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And that, you know, that once the burn is over, you know, it's okay. It's okay to like endure the burn. You don't have to act on it, and that you, when it's all over, you can maybe see a bit more clearly.
Yeah.
But in the heat of all of that stuff, you can make a better decision. And I think that album kind of maps it out in music pretty clearly. I think.
Okay.
I hope people will be able to see it. But
well, that's both a beautiful connection, and it's also very generous of you to do that. So
That's
thank you very much indeed for that, and thank you for all your suggestions for the virtual vinyl vault. That will really help us grow that collection and make music available to people in that way. So thank you.
Great.
And thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
It's much appreciated.
Lovely to talk.
Lovely to talk to you too. Good luck with the new album.
Thank you.
That was the second and final part of our interview with Polly Paulusma. You can find out more about us at makeadifferencewithrecords.com, or even better, come and see us at our store in Queen Street, Godalming.